What Louise is saying is, look, you can imagine, okay, a second Trump administration, what would it be like? What would it be like for women? We don't have to, because it's happening right now where people are bleeding out in their cars from having miscarriages that should be treated and attended to. They're losing their ability to ever have children again, right? Because hospital workers are more concerned with bureaucracy than people's lives. So Piers, don't interrupt me as you're talking about abortion rights and you say you support a woman's right to choose. Shut up and listen. As someone who's a mom, as someone who could have died herself, okay? It's time for you to shut up and listen to the women who are telling you loud and clear, we are dying out here. You're putting our lives on the line out here. Women in red states, women in blue states, women all over. It doesn't matter whether we love Trump or we hate Trump. The effect of overturning Roe v. Wade is the same. Our lives are on the line.
Piers Morgan had Francesca Fantini as a guest on his show, Piers Morgan Uncensored, where Francesca Fantini went head-to-head with a panel full of right-wing voices once again. This time the lineup included Fox host Kat Timpf, right-wing influencer Emily Austin, and ex-conservative MP Louise Mensch of the UK. And of course, Francesca Fantini also had to face off with right-winger Piers Morgan himself. The topic for this panel segment was the claim that Donald Trump is a protector of women, as expected. The conversation quickly turned intense, and Francesca Fantini delivered a fiery response to both the right-wing guests and Donald Trump. We're going to check out clips of that. I'll share my own thoughts. Let's check this out together.
I want to play you a clip of Donald Trump talking about how you protect women. This was at a rally in Pennsylvania on Monday.
You will be protected, and I will be your protector. Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free. You will no longer be thinking about abortion. It's all they talk about, abortion, because we've done something that nobody else could have done. It is now where it always had to be, with the states and a vote of the people.
Jessica, do you feel that Donald is your big protector? You're looking forward to being protected by him?
How much time do you have? Yeah, I like how this is just an ad for like Stepford Wives 2025. You won't be thinking about abortion because we'll do mass lobotomies. Like, no, thank you. Why does this sound like less of a promise and more of a threat, right? Like, and yeah, he's right. He did something no other politician could do. He's increased maternal mortality rate by exorbitant rates. Over in Texas, 56% of pregnant women have been facing mortality rates because the hospitals do not want to treat their very, very treatable conditions. Again, these are people who want to be parents. These are not people who are seeking abortion. But then we talk about those women, let's say in Georgia, who have died because hospital workers, because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, are too afraid to perform necessary life-saving procedures on women. So yeah, I love this like weird promise. You're not going to be thinking about it anymore. Like for all this, like, you know, anti-Haitian rhetoric, he's sure doing weird voodoo mind tricks on all of us. Like, I don't want a protector. Thank you. Least of all you, man who hung out with Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy. No thanks, Pat.
And Francesca Fantini really nails it here, because it's wild how Donald Trump keeps pushing this idea that nobody wanted Roe v. Wade when the reality is the exact opposite. Roe had close to a 2/3 approval rating across the country. So the majority of Americans absolutely did not want it overturned. And like Francesca Fantini points out, giving the power to the states hasn't solved anything. It's actually made things worse. Trump makes it sound like each state just calmly votes and everyone's voice gets heard. But that's not how it's playing out in real life in the states where abortion has been on the ballot. Even some of the deep red ones, voters have said loud and clear. They want to protect abortion rights and basically go back to what Roe guaranteed. But there are still so many states, mine included, where they won't even allow it on the ballot. So what we're seeing now is a country where abortion is accessible in some states, banned in others. and millions of people are stuck living under laws. They had no say about it.
Emily, what do you feel about Donald the Protector for all women?
I think, excuse me, I forgot her name. She's just a clear face
Francesca Fiorentini, host of the Bituation.
One of the funny things about these panels is how the right-wing hosts can never seem to remember Francesca Fantini's name. This happened not long ago with that Tatum guy, Brandon Tatum, or whatever he calls himself. He was on the show a few weeks back and completely blanked on Francesca's name. Like, it's not even that hard to remember, but somehow they always seem to forget when it's someone who challenges their talking points.
Engagement syndrome is because, excuse me, can you hear me? She's a clear portrait of what TDS is, because you have Donald Trump, who everyone claims wants to get rid of abortion, who wants to violate women's reproductive rights, go out there and reassure everyone. Like he said numerous times, I do not plan on taking this right away from you. I will protect you. Women do feel unsafe today. The whole country is in a state of lawlessness. So here he is reassuring you that everything's going to be okay.
And all of these right-wingers always fall back on the whole TDS Trump derangement syndrome line. It's honestly exhausting at this point. It sounds like something you'd hear on a school playground. And honestly, a lot of kids probably have more emotional maturity and self-awareness than the people pushing this nonsense over and over again.
Somehow you'll manage to spin that into something negative and make a comedic skit out of it, when this is exactly what the people need to be hearing. But then again, you have TDS, so I understand.
Louise, what do you feel about Trump? So, I mean, look, there's no doubt that for every woman that doesn't like Trump in America, there's pretty much a woman who loves him. That's what all the polling says. I mean,
that's so...
And here's another thing that Francesca calls out perfectly. Piers Morgan just throws out this wild claim that for every woman who hates Trump, there's one who loves him. Like, somehow that means Trump has 50% support among women, which is just completely made up, pulled straight out of nowhere. There's zero data to back that up. And anyone who's looked at actual polling knows that's not even close to true.
So unscientific, Piers. That is such a load
that's
of
not what the polling
horse-crafted.
says. If I could just,
that is like
that is not what it says. There is a
You
huge
just literally
lead
woke
for
up and
Kamala
pulled that
Harris
out of the
amongst
sky.
women. Wait, there is a huge lead for Kamala Harris among women. Absolutely huge. In fact, that's what Trump opened with. I gather that some women don't like me. I don't know why. I think I'm great. Well, thanks, Captain Bone Spurs. But I don't need you. The real Trump derangement syndrome is thinking that Trump could protect anybody. And if you want to talk about seeing dead people the way that Kat did the other day, Trump literally said, bring back Johnny Carson to the Tonight Show. The man's been dead for years.
you see,
Can
but
you
that's
imagine
okay. But
if
that's
it was Joe Biden who did that.
Hang on. That's a classic example of where the Trump loathers get so deranged they deliberately misrepresent what actually got said and what happened.
And Piers Morgan is always going to run defense for his buddy Donald Trump. He loves to say he's not a right-winger, and that people in the UK would laugh at the idea, but I get comments all the time from folks in the UK saying, no, Piers has always leaned right. And it shows every time he hosts one of these panels, he'll go after progressives like Francesca Fantini or anyone backing Democrats like Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. But when it comes to Trump, he suddenly turns into the most generous interpreter on earth, brushing off everything he says like it's no big deal.
I watched that clip in its entirety, and he knows Johnny Carson's dead. He was making the point, I wish we had Johnny Carson to bring back. He never said
That's
he
not
thinks
what he
he's...
said, Piers.
He never said he thinks he's
said,
still alive.
bring back
Nobody
Johnny
watching
Carson.
it.
That's a direct
Nobody
quote.
watching it thinks Trump thinks he's still alive. But it's a bit like he's going to. It's a bit like the bloodbath thing, right? Isn't it? It's a bit like the bloodbath thing where we're all led to believe by Kamala Harris in that debate that Trump warned if he doesn't win, there'll be a bloodbath, and we all have this imagery of wow, everyone's going to be dying, and then you remember. Hang on, calm down, lefties.
Do you remember what happened?
Calm down.
And then Piers Morgan throws in his little calm down lefties jab at Francesca Fantini like clockwork. But let me ask, have you ever heard him say calm down righties on his show? No way you're not going to hear that from Piers Morgan. He saves that condescending tone for the progressives every single time.
I'd like to think at
but
the end
Piers,
of it...
you're being so...
Go on.
You're so dishonest, dude. You're so dishonest, though, because all you do on this show is play off social media algorithms to get people to fight. You lead with it in the cold open, and you get the clicks, and if you don't hit a mill, you never ask that person back. You literally play the game that Kat is decrying, and I think that I love the idea, especially I love Kat's book and the way it targets women, because specifically women are the ones who, it's like, if we say one thing that you don't like, I hated you from the beginning, right? Women are extra vulnerable to this, especially online. But Piers, stop pretending like you think there's something wrong and we can't. Why
you know,
can't we
Francesca,
reach across
there's
the
one
aisle and hold
central...
hands? Because your whole algorithm is based on it. Your whole model is based on it.
Francesca, it's a lovely statement that will get you lots of clicks from your followers, and that's why you've just delivered your little monologue. However, it's based on
I'm here on this panel for free.
It's based on an entire... It's based on a false premise.
I do not have nearly the following that you do. I'm just trying to point out your own hypocrisy.
You don't normally get 1 million views for me, but I still invite you back. So that can't be true. I do it as an act of charity because I like you.
I check the sets. You know I crush. You know I crush, Piers.
I like having you on because you're so annoying.
Same.
Piers, can I add something?
Yes.
I wanted to respond to Luis, and Luis, you know I adore you. I just really happen to think it's a little pathetic that a lot of the left will use complete fabrications about Trump to support their narrative, to support their policies, to support Kamala Harris, rather than using her strengths. You know,
Both
if you feel like she has any, please go ahead and
about the other side.
They would. Okay, I'll give you a clear
like
example.
Fabrications are eating cats and dogs, those kinds of fabrications.
I'll back it up with facts. No, they both do. I'm pointing out a specific example from The View today. So they spent an entire segment talking about the filibuster that is going to be debated between the 6 of them, whether it should be removed or not to protect women's reproductive rights. They wasted an entire segment talking about something that Trump already said he wouldn't do. So, and if you think that helps Kamala Harris, it does, but you're lying about something that Donald Trump had said and done. And my point is that how come you need to resort to lies instead of things that Kamala has as strengths?
They're saying they're going to get rid of the filibuster because Kamala says it's not what Trump's going to do. Kamala says that she will bring in a national abortion measure permitting abortion, just like Roe. Before Roe was overturned, she will legislate it. It will be a law. And she is saying that we'll get rid of the filibuster on the positive side so that you can't stop me from making abortion a national right. And I can tell you as a Harris supporter, all I want all day long is for Donald Trump to talk about abortion. Please. Yep. Keep talking about it.
But when you
Please.
do talk about
it's a winning issue for us.
But Louise, when people talk about when people talk about Trump and abortion, I constantly hear from Kamala Harris and everyone on the left and the Democrats that Trump wants a national abortion ban. He has never said that.
She tweets it almost every single day.
He's repeatedly denied that. He has no desire to do that. In fact, whenever he's mused about what he thinks any kind of federal, obviously he's proud he's returned to the States. Fine, that may or may not be the right call. That's down to Americans. But he has said openly he thinks a 15-week term limit sounds about right. That puts him in line with most moderate European countries on abortion. He's not an abortion extremist. To pretend he is, and to deliberately misuse anything he said about this issue is just very disingenuous.
I think
Piers,
so too, Piers, and I agree with you.
And I say that as somebody, by the way, who supports a woman's right to choose what she wants to do with her body, and we men should stick out of it. That is my personal position. But I don't like to see Trump regularly, deliberately misquoted about this when there's evidence to the contrary.
Piers, can I just say something? He picked J.D. Vance to be his vice president. He is an elderly man. Any way you cut it. If he dies in office, just of natural causes or whatever, J.D. Vance becomes the president. And J.D. Vance has said on the record many times that he, Vance, supports a national abortion plan. Now, it doesn't matter.
Fine, then say it about J.D. Vance. Then fine, and quote J.D. Vance. Don't pretend it's Trump's. Don't pretend it's Trump's position.
But he's never committed to veto it. Do you know what I'm saying, Piers? He's never said. He's been asked if he would veto it.
And the other thing, by the way, the other thing, Francesca. Hang on. The other thing, Francesca likes to. The other thing Francesca loves to hang on.
I think it's a really important
The other thing Francesca likes to bang on about is the way Trump has personally packed the Supreme Court with
And of course, Francesca Fantini and other progressives are going to bring this up because it's the truth. Donald Trump reshaped the Supreme Court. He got multiple nominees through, and that's exactly how we ended up with this ultra-conservative court that overturned Roe v. Wade. This didn't just happen out of nowhere. It was part of a long game, and Trump played his part in making it possible.
Conservative judges. And you know what I think? Why didn't the Democrats get their act in order and persuade their judges on that court to step aside when they could have replaced them with younger people? The truth is, you allowed yourselves as a party to be lassoed by people who went on way too long, and that created an opportunity for Trump to pat the court, as the Democrats would do if they got the chance every single time.
That's right. Don't lose elections.
Mitch
so we're not going to lose
prevented
this one.
Obama from confirming Merrick Garland, and I think what Louise is saying is, look, you can imagine, okay, a second Trump administration, what would it be like? What would it be like for women? We don't have to, because it's happening right now, where people are bleeding out in their cars from having miscarriages that should be treated and attended to. They're losing their ability to ever have children again, right? Because hospital workers are more concerned with bureaucracy than people's lives. So, Pierre, don't interrupt me as you're talking about abortion rights and you say you support a woman's right to choose. Shut up and listen. As someone who's a mom, as someone who could have died herself, okay? It's time for you to shut up and listen to the women who are telling you loud and clear, we are dying out here. You're putting our lives on the line out here. Women in red states, women in blue states, women all over. It doesn't matter whether we love Trump or we hate Trump. The effect of overturning Roe v. Wade is the same. Our lives are on the line. Okay? We don't need to imagine the future. It is here right
You've made
now.
your point. You've made your point very forcefully. Go on, change topics.
So this was a really powerful segment from Francesca Fantini, and honestly, she's completely right with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. This has become a life or death issue for a lot of women. In states with abortion bans, women are being denied basic medical care, and like Francesca pointed out, they're not even being treated properly during miscarriages. This is something the mainstream media should be highlighting constantly, and yet Piers Morgan completely glossed over everything she said, didn't engage with it at all. And let's not forget how we got here. Trump was able to get multiple conservative justices on the Supreme Court because Mitch McConnell blocked Obama from filling an open seat, which, by the way, should never have happened. That move alone changed the entire direction of the court, and it doesn't get talked about nearly enough. That's why Roe was overturned. This wasn't some organic shift. It was deliberate. What made this moment stand out, though, is that even though Piers tried to talk over Francesca, like he usually does this time, she pushed through and got her full point across, and that's rare. I hope this clip really takes off because it deserves to. It's like she's already been posting it on her social media, and Piers even put it out there, which is something. It reminded me of that viral Anna Kasparian moment a couple years ago where she pushed back hard on religious imposition. Same energy, raw, unapologetic, and real. Francesca's had to deal with a lot of stacked panels on the show, but this time she had a bit of backup with Louise Mensch, even though she's a former conservative and not even based in the US. She was on Francesca's side here as a Kamala Harris supporter, so it wasn't as aggressively lopsided as usual, but let's be real. Going up against Piers Morgan is always a challenge on its own. Anyway, I thought Francesca absolutely nailed it in this segment, but let me know what you think. How did she do? What's your take on the panel, on Piers Morgan, on Trump, Roe v. Wade, all of it? Drop a comment below. I love hearing from you, especially those of you in the UK who always chime in to say, yeah, Piers has always been right-wing, no matter how much he denies it. And hey, if you like this, make sure to like and subscribe. The channel's been growing fast, and that's all thanks to your support. I really appreciate it. More content like this coming your way soon. Thanks for watching. This is Polyscope, and I'll see you in the next one.